Hit the skids. I'm just in my own world here. So they've actually, it's kind of amazing. They've made this whole deal like a one-day thing. They made 38 transactions yesterday. It used to be like they'd cut to like 70, and then I think they'd cut to like 65, and then to 53.
I like
whatever.
it better this way.
This is just
one fell swoop. Just
one
get it
fell
done.
swoop, and it's a tough day for everybody. Maybe this is the best way to do it. 38 roster moves. Nothing shocking. I do think that the KJ Henry release was by far the biggest surprise for people because he seemed to sort of shine in every game. It had moments. But for whatever reason, they've indicated to him, I believe, that they do want to bring him back in the practice squad. I do think he's a candidate to be picked up. We have a question. I'm not sure if Jason texted Kime.
I texted Kime, yeah.
Here's my question for you, for the way it works. So they're really in an advantageous position, unfortunately, being so bad last year. They get second crack at all the guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Carolina had the worst record. They get first crack at all the guys. Does Washington get second crack on their own guys? Or do they have to be passed up by all the other teams before Washington can pick them up?
I think it's the former. I think if Washington has second waiver priority, it's
even
Carolina.
their own guys.
I think so. Like if Carolina passes on KJ Henry and Washington wants to re-sign him or put him back on the practice squad, they would have
that makes it
second shot at it.
That's very advantageous for them.
Yeah.
Very advantageous for them. So today's going to be an interesting day.
JK will get back to us.
Some people were surprised that Martavis Bryant was released. I don't think you should be surprised. I do think that they're going to bring him back on a practice squad, and if they see growth and there's injuries or anything, he's a proven veteran who could go in there and catch a ball in the red zone.
Moderately surprised. He had a touchdown, and they just signed him.
Yeah, but they had the whole offseason. He had tried out earlier. I guess moderately. So I don't know. I think it was a very low percentage he was going to make the opening roster. It was obvious they liked Pringle. I think pretty much the receivers that they kept, it was fairly obvious. Jason was hardcore that they were going to keep Crowder. I'm glad they kept Crowder. I like him.
I thought they might keep 7.
Yeah,
but they only kept 6.
I'm personally surprised at their love affair with Olamide Zaccheaus. Like he's just a journeyman that catches like 30 balls if you're lucky. Like.
Yeah, but that's how he's been used before. But they're going to use. He might catch more because if they like his skill set.
We talked about this when you were gone.
Yeah,
I agree with you. His best season was 40 catches.
Right.
When he was the number 2 in Atlanta.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that he's not capable of more. It just means that they didn't feature him.
Generally,
if he's featured
though,
here, he might do a lot better than you think.
True.
Yeah.
Generally, I believe that the die is cast if a guy's been in the league for 5-6 seasons. Like
I think generally that's true.
Mm-hmm.
He's the very rare Washington wideout that I won't bet overs on. Usually, I love to bet overs on guys like Dotson.
Well, it depends on what the number
Dotson
is.
back in the day.
So what's the number you're putting on? Maybe I'll bet the over on him. What's the number on Oz?
I mean, his last 3 seasons, he's got 31, 40, and 10. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
Right. So what do you want?
24 and a half catches.
I'll go over.
Put it in the book.
For a rare instance, I'll take it under.
All right, I'll go over that.
$2 bet.
$2 in the
Standard
book.
Junks bet.
Defensively.
All right, so you cannot claim your own players that you
cannot.
have
They
released,
have to be seen by all 32. Yeah,
which
so
makes sense. Yeah.
That does make it a little. So these guys will have an opportunity to get picked up by someone else. You know what? It's probably more fair to them, right? Because if they just want to stash you on a practice squad, let these guys at least get exposed to everyone so they can get a shot at being on a main roster.
What are your impressions of the roster? So I saw a ranking yesterday, power ranking. We all believe they're going to be better, different degrees, but we all believe they're going to be better than a 4-win team.
Mm-hmm.
And yet the power rankings had them 28th.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not great. It's better than last year, but it's not great.
The only thing that I see,
There's question marks at a few different positions.
definitely question marks, a lot of places.
Receiver.
But every team has, by and
Secondary.
large, question marks, unless you're like the Niners or something. Maybe they don't have many.
Well, they've got questions.
Oh, they've got a lot
It's
of
called
question
Trent
marks.
Williams and Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that's just roster maintenance. Like those guys are, all things being equal, those guys would be there. I think they need 1 or 2 more guys that can like take it to the house. And
More
I don't
explosive
think,
guys.
I don't think you're going to find that really off the waiver wire because those guys are hard to find. So like, no one's going to find another Tyreek Hill, but you need somebody with that kind of sizzle.
They're going to find that guy with like the 15th or 16th pick in the draft next year.
Hopefully.
That's where you find it.
Yeah. And then, everyone has the same questions. Well, how's the offensive line going to hold up? How is the back end of the defense going to hold up? I think other than that, I think they'll be okay. I think Jaden's going to mitigate the offensive line issues because he's getting rid of the ball so quickly, and they're not stupid. Unlike the previous coaching staff, which was stupid, this staff, until proven otherwise, not stupid. And they know they don't have a great offensive line, that they're going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. I think they're going to try to run the ball a lot to take some pressure off Jaden.
Well, they're going to face...
And I think they're going to pressure the quarterbacks, and they're going to get burned sometimes because they know they can't just leave their corners out on an island.
That secondary is going to face a stern test in week 1 with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin in the slot, and Jalen McMillan has been impressing as a rookie in camp for Tampa Bay. So that's a good test for them in week 1.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be tough to stop those guys.
I think Mike Evans is going to have a big day.
Right. He could.
I just think that when people look at your roster, they're basing it on the fact that we only won 4 games last year. And now the thing is, there's been a complete turnover. Like, I think there's only 22 guys remaining from last year's team. Okay. Which is,
we started seeing that in free agency that they were going to flip.
So that's 31 guys, if my math is correct, Cakes. 31 new guys on this roster. So you can't say it's the team that won 4 games last year.
No,
because the majority of these guys weren't even here.
It's totally different.
So I think Bobby Wagner's going to have a big impact. I think Frankie Louvu's going to have a big impact.
It's my guy.
I think everyone is raving about Sanistril. He's going to be a huge part of that defense. And I think Jaden's going to be dynamic. So I see some positive. I love Sinnott. Love him. Love him. Now, he's the third, and Ertz, they're saying, has looked great. So he may not get many opportunities for the first 6 weeks or so. I don't know how that's going to play out. But I love Sinnott.
I think there were reports that the Commanders are going to lean into 3 tight end sets. Which makes sense because if your offensive line stinks and you need extra blocking, you might as well utilize one of what looks like a strength in your tight end room.
Right.
With Bates being a really good blocker. I mean, you're going to rely on Ertz and Sinnott, I think, more in the pass catching role as a tight end.
Well, I always think that Bates is underrated. He's obviously their best blocker, but I do think he's underrated. In other words, when they throw it to him, he generally catches it. What I like about Sinnott is it appears obvious to me. I've only seen him a few times in the preseason game. He catches it, turns upfield, is looking to make a play.
He's also a runaway beer truck. Like, he is almost impossible to bring down. He drags
guys, and he has the instinct to kind of catch it and run upfield.
Ertz is more of a catch it, and that's where he's gonna wind up. Like,
and that Bates is that way too.
You're not going to get a lot of yak out of Zach Ertz at this point in his career.
Right.
But Sinnott can give you some extra burst after he catches the ball.
And I'll give Jason credit on this one, and we have seen nothing. But if Eckler is how Kingsbury says he is, that could be the offseason acquisition of the team.
If the receivers aren't getting open, he's dumping it to Eckler.
Well,
even if no matter what, they're going to dump it to Eckler.
If
he's healthy like he was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Did you listen to him on Grant and Danny?
Kingsbury?
No, Eckler was on Grant and Danny yesterday.
I actually did.
Very likable guy.
Oh yeah.
He hasn't played in the preseason in 4 seasons.
Right.
Well, I think that's
good.
Smart.
They're keeping him under wraps.
You save him for the regular season.
And if he is like he was, which why wouldn't it be? High ankle sprain is a debilitating thing, but you get over that. So if that's all that it's a long injury. If that's all that held him back last year, why couldn't he be the guy he was a year and a half ago?